This is a Don Martinez fly called the golden quail. I'm tying it from the recipe in Mike Valla's book, The Founding Flies. Don Martinez tied this fly on either a 12 or 14, depending on the size of the quail feathers he used for the wings. The tail is golden pheasant crescent. So this is the crescent from a golden pheasant. It's the top of the head. And these feathers have no barbules. They're just plain straight. Well, maybe they do have very fine barbules, but if they have them, they're very fine. They're really just golden fibers. So I have just one of those feathers, and they do have that natural curve in them. So when I tie it in, I want to make sure that I'm tying it on top of the shank so that I get that curve going up. There's a little bit of a twist in this one too, so I'll have to put a couple wraps in and take a look and see. I think that looks good. The tail is at about the halfway point, just a little bit past the halfway point of the hook shank. Go ahead and clip out the butt end. The body is orange chenille, and I'm using some ultra chenille because it's what I have. And it's probably not as vivid an orange. What I'm doing is pulling off the fluff of the chenille just to expose the thread, and then I'll tie in over that thread to catch it in. Wrap over the thread all the way back to the tail where the fluff on the chenille starts. And as I wrap, that's going to start really at the bottom. So I want one turn of chenille for the body. So start at the bottom, come back to the bottom, bring my thread back, and just catch in at the end of that one turn. I'm going to put a few wraps there just to grab that chenille, because I'm not going to be tying underneath of it like I normally would when I catch in an ingredient. I'm going to cut off the chenille, and then I'm going to pull out all of the fluff on the cut off end so that doesn't bulk up the thorax and wing and hackle area. Then I can just wrap over that thread base and make sure that my chenille is tied in. And notice that the chenille is about halfway between the bend and the eye of the hook. So this is called a golden quail because it uses quail feathers for the wings, and they're supposed to be quail breast. So this is the back of the quail, and it doesn't really have a breast in this particular skin, but I am taking these light colored feathers from the edge that would be probably under the wing and towards the breast. And I'm going to trust that that's a close enough approximation. It looks pretty much like the feather in the illustration. Now it's a feather way too big for this size hook, so what I'm going to do is just take and strip off all the barbs and the fluff from the bottom of the, if I can get them, I guess it's not so important if I get the fluff off. I'll be cutting that off. And came off that side. What I want to do is strip that down until I have a wing that's approximately the length of the body. A little bit more. Maybe a couple more from the bottom here. So 2 wings, so I'm going to do that with 2 feathers. Now these did both come off of the same side of the breast, but they'll work. They're close enough to identical. So let me compare the two. I think this one is closer to the right size. I want to take a few more barbs off of the other one, the first one. All right. Then I'm going to take these and put them back to back, and this is where there's a little bit of a challenge with this fly. Getting those wing feathers to lay back to back properly so that they will naturally split apart when I tie them in. And they just want to roll and nestle rather than split back to back. And once I can grab them together back to back, then I can just lay them on top of the shank and wrap up over those rakuses. That doesn't look too bad. I'm going to go ahead and pinch them and pull them forward and wrap behind them as well. And then I am leaving quite a bit of space behind the wings where I will tie in the hackle. Come back in front. The hackle is going to help to stand them up as well, but I can also use the thread behind. I'm pulling them forward a little bit so that they don't lay over. And the natural split is going to keep them apart a little bit anyway, and I could X-wrap them, but I don't think it's particularly necessary to do that. I'll reach in here now and clip out the extra racus. The hackle is grizzly hackle, and I'm looking at the picture in Mike Valla's book, and it does look like Martinez did use a little bit of oversized hackle. So I'm going to go ahead and clip off the base and then pull down on the barbs and clip those real short. Call that a crew cut, not my term. And then I'm going to tie it with the shiny side out, and the thread will grab those cut off barbs and help to make sure that that hackle doesn't pull out. And I tied it shiny side out so that the barbs do lean back towards the bend of the hook rather than forward. I'll grab that with a hackle plier since it's a fairly short hackle. I'm going to put a couple wraps behind the wing to make sure they stand up properly. And then I will wrap in front. And kind of use up my hackle. One of the principles with dry fly hackle is that the heavier you hackle, the more buoyant the fly becomes. Now I don't like the way this backside looks, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off and rewrap it. I want a little bit more wrap. behind the wing than I have. That's kind of all just adjusting as you go to make sure you like what you see. But I've got quite a space between the wings and that chenille. So I'm going to fill that up with some hackle and then come forward and wrap in front. And then try not to trap any of the hackle fibers as I go up over the feather, 3 wraps over the top of it to catch it in. Then I can let go of the hackle plier, just pull back and find just that eye and wrap over that end of that hackle. And I can find that tip, snap it out, split those wings. And it is quite a long hackle. Generally today when we tie a dry fly, we want a gape to a gape and a half. I think I've got almost 2. But again, the photo of the Don Martinez tied fly in Mike Valla's book does have a long hackle on it. I'm going to use half-hitch tool, actually just use a ballpoint pen, and do 1 half-hitch to make sure that I've got a knot there and push the hackle fibers back, and then do a couple of double half-hitches. So I'm wrapping the thread around my tool twice, just setting the tool on the eye and pulling the thread off of it for the tail or for the knot. Then I will just take my scissors and I'm going to just push against the thread. That way I'm not cutting and it doesn't cut any of the hackle out. I'm going to put some diluted goop on the head of this fly. I'll leave a recipe for my diluted goop in the description. Just stick a needle in my jar, picks up a drop, I put that on the head. It will dry clear, and then to make sure that I haven't gummed up the eye, I'll take a tip of a hackle feather, push it through the eye and make sure that it is clean and tip it ready.